Okay, let's unpack this. Imagine a man just completely shattered, right? Standing on a bridge. It's Christmas Eve, and he's convinced his world has just collapsed, that everyone would actually be better off without him.
Yeah, it's an incredibly bleak starting point.
And his desperate prayers. I mean, in that moment of just ultimate despair, they somehow pierce the heavens. They actually reach heaven itself, prompting this intervention from a celestial realm. What series of events, what kind of life could possibly lead someone to that point, that level of crisis where angels themselves have to get involved?
That's a huge question.
That's exactly where we're starting our deep dive today, into a story that, well, despite a famously rocky start at the box office, has really woven itself deep into the fabric of our culture, our understanding of hope, community, and maybe the immeasurable value of just one seemingly ordinary life.
And what's truly fascinating here right from the get-go is how this narrative, it doesn't just focus on the immediate, dire stakes for George Bailey.
Yeah.
It immediately widens that lens. It looks at the whole concept of human impact, those unseen ripple effects that we all create just by being here.
Yeah.
So today we're going to immerse ourselves in excerpts from It's a Wonderful Life, a story of redemption, which is, a total classic. And at its core, it asks one of the most fundamental, maybe even unsettling questions. What if you had never been born?
Chilling, really.
It is. So our mission for this deep dive is to try and extract the deepest wisdom from George Bailey's journey. It seems ordinary on the surface, but it's extraordinary underneath. We want to really understand the meaning behind its timeless themes, sacrifice, community, self-worth, and figure out why this particular story, this story of hope and redemption, still resonates so deeply, generation after generation.
It really does.
It's a story that I think compels us to look beyond, the big achievements and really consider that quiet heroism that shapes the world around us every day.
So our journey kicks off as the source material paints so vividly in that quintessential small American town, Bedford Falls.
Bedford Falls, yeah.
And the setting, the time, it's crucial. A very specific Christmas Eve. Our central figure, George Bailey, and you can't help but picture James Stewart.
Absolutely. He is George Bailey.
He finds himself in just the most precarious, the most heart-wrenching position. He's standing on this old stone bridge, the wind's biting, snow's falling, poised literally on the edge of despair, contemplating the unthinkable: suicide.
It's a dark place to start a Christmas movie.
It is. And the narrative with this kind of almost magical realism tells us his desperate whispered prayers, they don't just vanish into the cold night. They actually reach heaven, prompting this an immediate kind of cosmic intervention from up high.
Yeah.
It's a moment that's really designed to make us feel the weight of his desperation, right at the story's beginning.
And that opening, it raises such an important, really foundational question for the whole story. What sequence of events, what whole lifetime of choices and circumstances leads a person to such a critical, desperate point?
Exactly. What brings him to that bridge?
And the celestial beings, as the story shows us, they don't just send down some generic help. They specifically assign a particular angel to this job, Clarence Oddbody.
Right. Clarence, angel second class.
Angel second class, exactly. Who, importantly, hasn't earned his wings yet. But, and this is so critical to how the story unfolds, before Clarence is sent down to intervene right in that moment of crisis. He is first shown George's entire life story. Heaven's wisdom apparently dictates that to really understand the value of a life, you have to see the whole thing. Every joy, every sacrifice, every dream, every single disappointment, every connection made.
The full picture.
The full picture. This isn't just about saving George in one desperate moment. It's about giving Clarence, and really us, the audience, this full, holistic understanding of the cumulative weight of George's entire existence.
Okay.
It's about showing the profound, often unacknowledged value of his life, not just to George himself, but to literally everyone around him, and even to an angel who needs to grasp the full scope of human interconnectedness,
Yeah, that makes sense.
So this careful setup, this prelude, it perfectly sets the stage for a story that isn't just about a last-minute rescue. It's a profound, transformative revelation, a revelation of self-worth and societal impact. It lets us witness the power of a life lived for others.
So to really get the depth of George's crisis on that Christmas Eve, and to fully appreciate the revelation that comes later, we absolutely have to go back to his beginning.
As start, yeah.
The source material paints a very clear picture of George Bailey from his formative years. James Stewart again, bringing him to life. He's introduced not just as a kind kid, but an incredibly ambitious one, growing up in what seems like idyllic Bedford Falls.
Seems idyllic, right?
Even as a kid, his head was full of these grand dreams. He wanted adventures, travel the world, see exotic places, and importantly, build great structures. That's a clear sign, isn't it, of his desire to make a tangible, lasting impact. Maybe even become famous.
Definitely. He wasn't dreaming small.
But the film subtly emphasizes, even before those big ambitions could really take root, George consistently showed this remarkable, almost innate moral compass. It just pointed him towards selflessness, towards protecting others.
And if we look at the bigger picture, George's childhood isn't just some nostalgic, heartwarming flashback. It is absolutely foundational.
Right.
It's foundational to understanding the man he becomes and why his life ends up having such profound, unseen value. The narrative gives us two incredibly pivotal moments from his youth. They serve as these early lessons in responsibility, the instinct to protect.
Yeah, what were they?
Well, the first is when he bravely saves his younger brother Harry from drowning. Harry breaks through the ice, right? And George, despite being scared himself, the cold, he doesn't hesitate, dives in, pulls Harry out.
And he loses his hearing in one ear because of it.
Exactly. A minor sacrifice in some ways, but permanent. A physical reminder. Then the second crucial moment involves the local pharmacist, Mr. Gower.
Ah, yes, Mr. Gower.
He's distraught with grief over his son's death, and he accidentally prepares this prescription, but it's poison. Young George, working there, notices the mistake, and even though the grieving pharmacist hits him,
Which is a tough scene.
it is, George refuses to deliver that poison. These aren't just, minor acts of kid kindness. They're early, instinctive, incredibly powerful demonstrations of this built-in selflessness, a deep, ingrained sense of responsibility for others.
Wow.
This early heroism, it seems small maybe compared to his big dreams of travel and building things, but it paradoxically defines the very core of the man he grows into.
Yeah.
It highlights this consistent, unwavering thread of quiet heroism that runs through his whole life, long before he even recognizes it himself. They're powerful foreshadowings, really, of the countless lives he'd unknowingly touch and fundamentally shape. It cements his character as someone who always puts others first.
Okay, so here's where it gets really interesting and, well, honestly, a little heartbreaking because it marks the start of this pattern of profound sacrifice for George.
The first big one.
Exactly. Just as he's right there on the brink of realizing those grand dreams, he's got his bags packed, he's ready for college, ready to pursue those great structures and global adventures he's always pictured,
The moment he's waited for.
fate just steps in. With almost cruel timing. His father, the sort of guiding hand of the family and their business, he suddenly dies. And with his passing, he leaves behind the Bailey brothers building alone. This small, seemingly unassuming family-run savings and loan.
The community pillar, though.
A community pillar, absolutely. But the moment is ripe for trouble. And sure enough, the greedy, unscrupulous town tycoon, Mr. Potter.
Ah, Potter. The villain.
He immediately sees this as a golden opportunity. Swoop in, dissolve the building alone, and just tighten his ruthless grip on Bedford Falls.
This moment, like you said, it's the first truly major fork in George's road. And it tragically, yet, heroically, sets this defining pattern for his entire adult life.
How so?
He's got this clear choice, right? His dreams, the things he's longed for, versus his family's legacy and really the community's well-being. The film shows his agony so well, that pull towards escape versus his deep sense of duty.
You really feel it.
You do. And ultimately, he makes that conscious, agonizing decision. Gives up college, gives up travel, chooses to stay in Bedford Falls to keep the building and loan afloat.
Which wasn't just a business.
No, absolutely not. The source describes it meticulously as this vital institution. It helps working-class families own homes. It's a beacon of hope against Potter's, frankly, exploitative practices and his vision of a town full of slums he owns.
Right.
So George makes this conscious, principled stand against Potter, not just for the business itself, but as the source says, standing up for its value to the community in a really profound way.
And then he sacrifices again, doesn't he?
He does, remarkably. He gives his own saved college money to his younger brother, Harry, expecting, that Harry will eventually take over the business and then maybe George can finally go. But when Harry comes back from college, he's got this fantastic new job opportunity, a path that's going to take him out of Bedford Falls into a successful career somewhere else.
So George is stuck again.
And George, true to form, steps aside again. He ensures the business survives, ensures the community it serves survives. This continuous, almost relentless putting aside of his personal dreams for the communal good becomes the single defining thing about his life.
Wow.
It's a powerful, quiet testament to those themes of the film Champions: the importance of family, friendship, and self-worth. It shows us that selflessness can be this incredible strength, even when it feels like a huge personal loss.
But amidst all these huge sacrifices, amidst constantly putting others first, George does find this profound personal happiness, doesn't he, in another really crucial part of his life.
Yes, absolutely. Love.
He falls deeply in love with Mary Hatch, played with such grace by Donna Reed. She was a childhood friend, understands him maybe better than anyone.
She really grounds him.
They eventually marry, right in the middle of the Great Depression, which must have been incredibly challenging times.
Oh, sure.
But even their honeymoon, that sacred time for newlyweds starting out, it becomes another chance for a selfless act. It just shows how deep this quality runs in George and, as we see, in Mary too.
It really solidifies their bond, doesn't it, in a unique way.
It does.
And what's truly fascinating and really beautiful, actually, is how George's personal life, his deepest feelings, they aren't separate from his community commitment. They're completely intertwined.
What do you mean?
Well, they reinforce his core values, and Mary shares them completely. The source material shows it vividly, that panic that hits Bedford Falls right during their honeymoon.
A bank run.
Exactly.
Okay.
A sudden, devastating bank run threatens the building and loan's very existence. The townspeople, desperate, flood the office trying to get their savings.
Panic stations.
Total panic. And in this moment of extraordinary shared purpose, quick thinking, George and Mary make this immediate, instinctive decision. They use their entire honeymoon savings, the money meant for their start, to keep the building and loan afloat, to make sure the townspeople don't lose everything.
Wow. He literally stands on a table, doesn't he?
He does, appealing to their reason, their trust, reminding them their money's safe, just not all available right that second. It's not just a convenient plot point. It's this incredibly powerful illustration of their shared values.
Right.
Putting the town's well-being ahead of their own immediate happiness. And their commitment doesn't stop there. Over the years, they build this lovely family, several kids, a modest home that's always, full of life.
The drafty old house.
The drafty old house. And through George's unwavering dedication at the building and loan, he literally helps countless families escape the slums owned by Mr. Potter. He builds affordable homes in Bailey Park.
You see it happening in the film.
You do. You see the homes going up, brick by brick, giving dignity, stability to families who only knew Potter's exploitation. This isn't some abstract idea of help, it's physical, tangible.
You literally reshape the town.
His quiet heroism literally reshaped the landscape and improved lives in Bedford Falls, one family, one affordable home at a time. It's an incredibly powerful statement about grassroots community building, how small, consistent acts of good can literally construct a better world.
But despite all these acts, all this quiet heroism, the huge impact he's had, the sources tell us George never really fulfills those big personal dreams he had as a boy. Traveling the world, doing those big things.
Now he doesn't.
And that simmering frustration, that quiet regret over those deferred ambitions, combined with a sudden, utterly devastating crisis, that's what pushes him right to the edge.
The breaking point.
On that fateful Christmas Eve, the one we started with, his forgetful relative and business partner, Uncle Billy. Lovable, but maybe a bit incompetent.
Bless him. He makes this catastrophic error. He loses a staggering $8,000. Money that was crucial for a bank examination that day.
And this moment, it raises such an important question for us. How does one mistake, even a big one like this, lead a man like George Bailey, someone who's sacrificed so much to such utter despair, to the point of suicide?
It seems disproportionate almost.
Well, the source clarifies that $8,000 wasn't just money, it was a massive sum, especially then. Think hundreds of thousands today.
Okay.
Its loss didn't just mean financial trouble. It meant potential scandal for the building and loan, the heart of the community, already under Potter's watchful, evil eye.
Potter would love that.
Oh, absolutely. It meant devastating bankruptcy. And for George personally, it could mean jail. Destroying his reputation, his family's future. The film makes you feel that crushing pressure as he desperately tries to find the money his world just unravels.
He even goes to Potter, doesn't he?
He does. Calls everyone he knows, turns to Potter for a loan, only to be just cruelly mocked and rejected. This wasn't just a financial hit, though it was definitely that.
Yeah. This was the crushing culmination of a lifetime of deferred dreams, of always putting others first, carrying this immense, unrelenting pressure with no apparent personal reward. This final blow just shattered his perception of his own worth.
To the point where he thinks he's worth more dead.
Exactly. Making him genuinely believe he was worth more dead than alive because of his life insurance policy. He sees it as the only way out, the only way to save his family from the disgrace he thinks he's caused.
That's terrifying.
This belief, born of just profound financial ruin and total emotional exhaustion, becomes the final, unbearable straw. It drives him to that cold, dark bridge, utterly convinced his existence was a failure, that everyone he loved would somehow be better off without him. It's the ultimate terrifying test of his self-worth, pushing him somewhere he just can't see his own value anymore.
And it's right then, at that precise, terrifying moment, standing on the brink, looking at the icy water, that Clarence the Angel makes his entrance.
But not as you'd expect.
No, not some glowing apparition descending.
Yeah.
In this rather unconventional, very human-like move, Clarence doesn't just appear. He actually jumps into the river first.
He does.
Creating this scenario that, quite ingeniously, prompts George, ever the rescuer. Right. It's in his bones to save him.
It's brilliant. Forces George to reconnect with that core selflessness even then.
Yeah. So once they're out of the water, freezing, Clarence introduces himself. "I'm your guardian angel, George," and offers him this totally mind-bending, reality-altering vision.
The big what if.
Shows him exactly what the world, specifically Bedford Falls, would be like if George Bailey had, in fact, never been born. A shocking proposition.
And this alternate reality sequence. This is arguably where the film's central, profound theme, the impact one life can have, is explored with just the most breathtaking and terrifying clarity.
How so?
It makes George's invisible contributions heartbreakingly visible. It's not just a hypothetical, a vague idea. It's a grim, meticulously detailed, utterly devastating counter-narrative to his life.
Pottersville.
Pottersville. The source material details this terrifying transformation of Bedford Falls into Pottersville, described chillingly as grim, corrupt, filled with bars, crime, and despair. Without George's steady moral influence, without his constant fight against Potter, his support for the community, the whole town's moral compass just shifts, radically, spirals into this dark, unrecognizable place.
The visuals are so stark, aren't they?
Incredibly stark. Bailey Park is gone, replaced by rundown tenements. The lively Main Street is now gaudy, menacing strip clubs, pawn shops, and then we see the specific, heartbreaking fates of the people George impacted.
Like Mr. Gower.
Mr. Gower, the pharmacist, he's now a drunken ex-convict.
Yeah.
Because George wasn't there as a child to stop that fatal mistake with the poison, he lived with the guilt, spiraled.
And Harry, his brother.
George's beloved brother, Harry, the war hero, he died as a child because George wasn't there to save him from drowning. And the horrifying consequence, many soldiers died in WWII because Harry wasn't alive to save them. A direct ripple effect. One life's absence causing countless deaths.
Devastating. And Mary.
Mary, his loving wife. She's now a lonely, prim librarian who never married. Her vibrant spirit just diminished, her life unfulfilled. And all those families George helped escape the slums.
Bailey Park.
They now live in poverty or are homeless, trapped in Potter's system. This horrifying, detailed vision makes it brutally, undeniably clear. George's life, far from being a failure, was the absolute linchpin for the well-being, the morality, the very existence of countless others.
Wow.
It reveals the immense, often unseen, unquantifiable value of his everyday presence, his quiet sacrifices, his consistent good deeds. It's a powerful, gut-wrenching revelation of just how profoundly interconnected we all are, how even small acts of kindness can hold back a tide of despair.
So horrified. Horrified beyond measure by this bleak, terrifying vision of a world without him, George, now desperate for something totally different, he begs for his life back.
He wants to live again.
He screams it into the void, wants to live, wants to return to the life he just moments ago thought was a failure. And like magic, his wish is granted. He's back on the bridge. The biting wind, the falling snow suddenly feel like a blessing. He runs home, just joyful, so grateful to be alive, even if, in his mind, he still faces ruin, scandal, maybe jail.
The problems haven't technically vanished.
No, but when he bursts through his front door, he finds not just his family, but this true, unexpected miracle unfolding right there. The real depth of his impact is about to hit him.
And this moment, this ultimate realization and redemption, it begs the question, Why does that immediate crisis, the lost $8,000, why does it seem to just disappear?
Right. How is it solved?
It's not just magic or, convenient plot device. It's the profound, beautiful culmination of his entire life's work. It's the reciprocity of goodwill made visible.
How so?
Mary, understanding the awful situation George was in, has rallied the townspeople. And in this incredibly moving display of collective gratitude, the entire community,
Everyone he helped.
everyone, those countless individuals, families George had touched over years of unwavering selflessness, they come together. They literally show up at his house streaming through the door. An overwhelming outpouring of love and support,
With money.
donating money, loose change, whatever they can spare to help George out of this crisis. The film shows us all these faces: the cab driver, Ernie, Bert the cop, Martini from Bailey Park, the woman whose home he saved.
It's incredibly moving.
It is. Even figures of authority, like the bank examiner who was there to scrutinize the books, and the sheriff. They join the celebration. It's this powerful testament to the universal respect, the deep affection George has earned.
Yeah.
This whole segment just beautifully illustrates the power of community and compassion. It demonstrates with such emotional resonance that the impact of one life is definitely not a one-way street.
What goes around comes around, sort
Yes,
of.
exactly. George's decades of quiet sacrifices, his kindness, created this enormous, invisible reservoir of goodwill. Reciprocal loyalty, a deep community spirit that just flowed back to him in his greatest hour of need.
It affirms, unequivocally, that his life was a profound success, just not measured by those youthful dreams of travel or big buildings. He built something far more enduring.
A community.
A community rooted in love and mutual support, a testament to his unseen impact.
So as this joyous celebration is happening all around George, this true, deep sense of peace just washes over him. You can see it on his face.
Relief, gratitude.
Yeah. And amidst all the chaos and camaraderie, he finds that small note from Clarence, his guardian angel. Just a simple message, but it encapsulates everything, doesn't it? Remember, no man is a failure who has friends.
Perfect.
And then, almost like it's on cue, this delicate little bell rings on the family Christmas tree. Tiny sound, almost imperceptible. Only George and his youngest daughter, Zuzu, seem to notice.
And Zuzu says,
Zuzu, with that innocent wisdom kids have, looks up and says those iconic words. Every time a bell rings, an angel gets his wings.
Goosebumps.
It's the perfect, most heartfelt ending. Clarence, mission accomplished, finally earned his wings. And if we look closer at those incredibly poignant final moments, they really do encapsulate the profound themes that have made It's a Wonderful Life, not just, a beloved holiday film, but this timeless, universally resonant tale. It still speaks to new generations.
Absolutely.
The narrative highlights the impact one life can have, emphasizing it's not about grand gestures or famous achievements. It's forged through consistent kindness, quiet courage, a lifetime of self-sacrifice, the very things George thought were his failures.
Right.
It underscores with such emotional power the power of community and compassion. Shows us vividly how interconnected we all are, how collective goodwill can overcome even the worst individual crises.
Yeah.
And maybe most importantly, it champions the importance of family, friendship, and self-worth, reminding us that true value isn't found in wealth or status, but in the genuine bonds we form, the lives we touch.
And it wasn't always seen that way, was it, the film initially?
No, exactly. Initially, the film was not a commercial success, which is surprising to many people today, probably due to its darker themes. Maybe post-war America wanted lighter stuff.
Interesting.
But it became this cherished holiday classic, largely because of repeated TV broadcasts starting in the 70s. Audiences rediscovered its profound message, recognized it as this powerful story of hope, redemption, and the quiet heroism of everyday life.
Its legacy is huge.
Its enduring legacy lies right there, in its profound ability to continually remind us that true wealth, true success, a life well lived, it's not measured in money or fulfilling those personal ambitions we might have initially set. It's measured in the genuine lives we touch, the positive changes we bring about, and the vibrant, supportive community we help build around us.
It's a message that really sticks with you.
It resonates far beyond the screen, definitely. Invites us all to reassess our own definitions of success and impact.
What an incredible deep dive that was.
Yeah.
Into George Bailey's life, the enduring, almost magical message of It's a Wonderful Life. From his childhood heroism, saving his brother, saving Mr. Gower, to that lifelong sacrifice, constantly putting his dreams aside for his family, his community.
Yeah.
We've seen, in such vivid detail, how one man's choices Those seemingly small, ordinary, day-to-day decisions fundamentally shaped an entire town,
Mm.
and then how that town, in turn, saved him, proving that incredible reciprocal power of love and support, revealing that unseen impact that just builds up over a lifetime.
And this deep dive really leaves us with a provocative, maybe essential thought to carry forward, doesn't it?
What's that?
If, as Clarence's note says so simply, so profoundly, no man is a failure who has friends, what does that truly mean for how we measure success and value in our own lives?
That's a big question.
It is. It invites us to really consider those quiet acts of kindness we do, those seemingly insignificant daily decisions we make to support others, the genuine, meaningful connections we forge with people around us.
Maybe the small things are the big things.
Maybe they are. Perhaps the greatest achievements aren't the ones on the grand stage, the ones bringing fame or fortune. Maybe they're the ones built quietly, person by person, community by community, leaving a profound, often unseen impact that lasts far longer than any individual ambition. So, what small, everyday actions are you taking right now? Actions that might be creating a profound, unseen impact on the world around you. An impact far beyond what you might possibly imagine. Something truly worth mulling over as you go about your day.